waking up in a bath of ice. I'm a victim of an organ heist. You know it is true, you know this time you're never gonna get it. But you already stole my heart. Yeah, you ripped it and tore it apart. You know.
Welcome to Cutthroat Queens Podcast, where we only eat sardines and pineapple on pizza. We're here to take an open and honest look at all things indie horror. My name is Brett Mitchell Kent, and I'm joined by the 5-time world record holder for most bottles of balsamic dressing drank in under a minute, Elton Skelter, and an empty sock drawer that fell off someone's truck and dented my car, Chelsea Pumpkins.
Hi.
Hi. That was a good intro for Chelsea.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I'm truly blessed.
I reach into the soul of the person and just pull out who they really are.
You are quite good at that. Yeah.
So what have you all been doing this month? You already know, but I'm going to be pretty much useless because I have done almost everything that I've read or consumed has been behind the scenes type shit, where it's like betaing, or I got to edit Elton Skelter's new collection, which is fucking
Talk about that.
It was so
How
good.
was it?
It was incredible, but I know that like I'm biased or whatever, but I would not say that I loved it if I didn't love it, and I did love it. I loved so many of the stories. There's like 2 stories that I didn't edit, so I may or may not have read them in the time that we've been friends, but it's kind of intense. There's some disgusting shit in it, but it's gay as hell. It's super queer centric. It has gay villains, gay side characters, gay protagonists. Everybody's gay. Everybody's fantastic. It's got a lot of heart. It's really tackling some gay issues in a disgusting way. I'm sorry, Elton. I know this makes you uncomfortable.
So uncomfortable.
I loved it, and I'm glad that I got to edit it and read it. But
Thank you for editing it, by the way. It's wonderful that you did that.
How was your first time editing? Was that your first time, like, officially?
I mean,
don't know
it's the first
Yeah.
official one, I guess, where I was credited for it. But it was fine. It was easy because I loved the stories. So I imagine it would be worse if I didn't like what I was reading.
And a bit of background on it as well. I decided to release it like overnight. I gave Brett like less than 2 weeks to actually edit the entire thing, and he pulled it out of his ass in about 3 days. So
What? And now he has an IMDb page because he's an official editor. Elton's crying.
oh, it's just so emotional.
What? When is it out? Where can people get it? What's it called?
Okay, it's called "Let's Get Fucked Up and Die," which is a song title from Motion City soundtrack that I've been obsessed with for about 20 years. And I just thought that kind of encapsulated everything that I wanted to say about that book, that collection, because it basically, that's just the theme of it. Everyone does fucked up things and they all die. So that's what you're in for. It came out on Godless on the 19th of August in ebook only, and it releases on Amazon on the 2nd of September in paperback and ebook.
That'll be like days after this comes out, so everybody go get it.
Absolutely.
I'm so excited to get the little physical copy.
Yeah, it looks so good.
Mass market paperback size, so it's like 4 by 6 inches or something. It's really small, but it's really cute. And I chose the off-white pages and stuff to make it look a bit more vintage, so I like it.
I'm trying to... Does somebody cover that song?
Well, Let's Get Fucked Up and Die.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Is it the one that's like, I'm speaking figuratively?
Yes,
of course.
it is.
Oh, I love that song. I didn't know that was them.
Yeah, Motion City soundtrack.
I must have like downloaded that illegally in college, and like I downloaded it as like Alkaline Trio or something, and in my head it was always, you know what I mean? Like I think it was like mislabeled, and so I never knew it was them. It's funny.
Yeah, it's weird. I've never ever heard of them, but I went to see All American Rejects in Portsmouth in 2006, 2007, and they were one of the support bands, and I was just obsessed with them after that. So
cool.
Yeah.
I think they played at my college back in the day. I should have gone. I would have heard the song that I didn't know was by them. Oh, well, congratulations, Ellen. I'm really excited for you. I'm proud of you.
I can't wait.
I'm proud of you too, Brett.
I didn't do anything, but I
She's
will be proud
important
of
to
you when you finally write that fucking novella, Chelsea.
Yeah, we're putting you on screen right now, Chelsea.
Why am I on
Chelsea.
blast?
Chelsea is an exceptionally lazy writer. She writes she can write a short story, but it will take her a long time, and she is so dramatic about it.
I'm not.
But
Literally
this
not.
novella, she has been putting it off for months now, so we are putting her on blast. And each month we are going to check back in, and we're going to see how you're doing,
my
Chelsea.
God.
So the entire listening audience of Cutthroat Queens is now going to be behind you, waiting for this book.
What if it sucks?
All pressure. It's not going to, but I am just very excited for the concept. I'm not going to share your concept, but the thing is, we can celebrate all of the beautiful things that Elton writes, but I want to celebrate what Chelsea writes. So Chelsea has to write it.
Yeah, Chelsea does so much beta reading for beta reading
Beta reading
of so many of our friends, and she's in just loads of anthologies that we read and stuff, but she never really gets a lot of shout outs. She's always just kind of
that's not true. We talk about that's not true. I get too many shout outs. We need to talk about Brett. Let's talk about Brett.
No, we'll circle back. No.
Anyway, if Brett also, are you open for editing requests as like a side hustle? How do you feel about that?
I'm willing. It's just,
he's very good to work with. He's very, very thorough. And even if you just need like a line check and a proof copy, he's just, meticulous. I read his manuscript before he sent it to the publisher, which got accepted. And it was basically flawless as an unedited piece. So he has the eye. He's got the skill. So yeah, if you need anyone, he's your man.
All right, circle back. Let's. Chelsea, what did you do?
Okay, this month I read a tiny little collection called 19 Little Stab Wounds. And I picked this up from Alexis Dubon at StokerCon. She was selling it at the table that had Dreadstone Press, Hungry Shadows, and Cursed Morsels. So she was with those guys selling her collection of microfiction. At the time, all the proceeds from the sales she was making at StokerCon were going to like a victims protection fund for victims of abuse. So I was happy to support. The cover is like freaking eye-catching as all hell. It's so cool. And so I finally just picked it up and I read it basically in one day. It was so good. And anyone who knows me in collections or anthologies, I'm always like, it takes me a while to get through them. But this one I was just like one after another. I love her prose. It's so beautiful. It's like most of it is very sad. It feels like very full of like pain. There's a lot of like grief and trauma, horror. There's also content warnings in the back for people who may be not into that. But her writing is just fantastic. And I've had the pleasure of kind of becoming her friend in the past couple of months. She doesn't sell this book on Amazon or any bookstores like that. So I messaged her and I was like, well, I want to talk about your book. So what can I say? And the timing works out because today there was a big announcement from Tenebris Press. They're taking over parts of Dreadstone as like an imprint. But anyway, currently you can buy all of the Dreadstone Press books, which include the Split Scream series and some other things. You can buy 19 Little Stab Wounds from them. And now the proceeds from buying 19 Little Stab Wounds go to the Maui Strong Fund to support them recovering from the Maui wildfires, which
I love that.
Also
so
very close
I can
to
buy
my
it
heart.
right now, like at the moment.
Yes.
Remember that you were talking about this when you got back, and I'm like, crap, I wanted to ask you to buy me one when you were at Stoker, and I think I was supposed to message her on Twitter, and I don't know
or something.
Did
I don't know. I was like, listen, all of us have ADHD. Don't hold anybody. Don't hold them to the fire on that.
Yeah, we're all children of.
So at least now I can get
poisoning.
Yes, now you can get it. I'll send you the link. You can actually buy it on Dreadstone's website for now, and it's something like if you buy it in addition to other books, I think it's like $3, and if you buy it on its own, it's $5. But all of the money is going to help them recover in Maui, which is a very good cause. And Brett, I think you'll really love the story. I think all listeners would love it. I'm like,
so when you say like flash and microfiction, what's the kind of word counts we're looking at here? How many pages for each piece, sort of?
Ooh, super small. I would say like maybe the longest thing was flash in here, and let's see, maybe it's this one, maybe like 6 or 7 really small pages.
So it's perfect for like if you have a short attention span but you really want to get something like cool and emotional and connect with it quickly.
Yes, like there's a poem in here that is 8 lines long, and I was like, that's the saddest thing I've ever read. Like I was like, shit. I think I literally messaged her and I was like, you're breaking me. And she's like, no. But yeah, go out and support Alexis as a writer. And then also, you know, kudos to indie horror writers doing things for the greater good. She also was a co-editor for No Trouble at All, which probably a lot of our listeners have heard of. I think we've talked about it before. But yeah, that's what I read, and I was blown away. So kudos.
Cool.
Yeah. Did you read anything, Elton?
No, I was too busy. I had a collection out there.
Oh, right. That's
and
true.
then I was working on the Cutthroat Queens songs from the Cutthroat Queens podcast
album. Did you all know that Elton does our music?
Oh my god. We haven't said that in a whole month. But now you can own it. The collection of 10 songs that have featured or will be featured in the coming episodes of Cutthroat Queens, all written, recorded, and produced by me. It's available on Bandcamp. We'll link it. But aside from that, I've been heavily into watching movies because I, as Brett says, everything I do is super gay, and I love horror. So I'm always on the lookout for gay horror. And it's always been quite terrible. We had Hellbent in 2004, which was just not a good film. We have a lot of stuff that just randomly features Drew Drogue for no reason whatsoever, just turning up as a cameo. There's like the Bed and Breakfast of Terror and Bite Marks and all these really, really terrible camp gay horror movies we've all historically had. But I did start to notice that in the past sort of 4 or 5 years, we've started to get some actually decent quality gay representation in cinema. And so I started to sort of think about things that I wanted to recommend, things that I wanted to suggest. And I think the first thing that I watched that I thought, actually, this is of a much better caliber was a film called Midnight Kiss, which stars Augustus Prew and Scott Evans and Lucas Gage. And it was part of the Blumhouse series Into the Dark, which was like an anthology series of films, which was holiday related.
Into the Dark, I've seen every single one of them. Which one are you talking about?
Midnight Kiss, the one
with the bar.
The bar and the guy in the leather mask. So this was the New Year's episode that they did for that series. And it was directed by Carter Smith, who is an openly gay director, who you might know from his previous works, having directed The Ruins in 2008 and Jamie Marks is Dead in 2014. I really like his style. I really like the fact that he's an indie director, and I really like the fact that he sort of turns up around a lot of Blumhouse stuff, which I love Blumhouse as a general production company. This film was good. It was the first gay slasher movie that I've seen that's taken it actually seriously. It's got complex characters. It's very melodramatic. Like it's overacted in a way, but not in a campy way. So it's very full on. It's over the top, but it's exciting. It has a cool gay lady best friend in it, who, you know, everybody needs the cool lady best friend character. She was awesome in it. It's got like just a really, really good range of gay stereotypes. I want to say stereotypes as well. It's like the anal one and the fun one and the anal
gay guy.
The anal gay guy, you know, the one that likes to plan, not the one that likes the anal. But yeah, it was a really, really good film, and that kind of got me sort of started on looking at more serious gay movies that aren't campy and aren't supposed to be fun or tongue-in-cheek. And it also got me looking at Carter Smith, which brings me on to 2022. His movie Swallowed which he wrote, directed, and produced. It's an indie film. I bought it on Amazon Prime UK for £2.99 the other day to own outright, which is a steal. It's not got the best reviews, but I really enjoyed it. So the essential plot of it is it's this gay guy, he's a small town gay guy, he's been doing some online porn, he's ready to leave, he's going to LA, and his friend wants to give him some money to start him up with. So they offer to do this drug heist for this creepy lady out in the woods. So they go find her. It's Jenna Malone, wouldn't you know?
Jenna Malone.
I love her so much, and she's brilliant in this.
Oh my god, she looks like such a bad. I'm looking at the pictures.
Yeah,
she looks like such a badass.
She is terrifying, but she's not actually the bad character in it. She's working for someone who's so much worse, which I loved as well, because it's a terrible gay man, a fucking awful gay man that she's working for. So basically, she holds them at gunpoint. She makes them swallow the drugs and condoms, but they're not drugs. And they find this out very quickly afterwards, that they're actually smuggling some kind of biological material. But so it turns out to be a mystery, and then it gets to be a bit revengey at the end. I really enjoyed it. It's not something I've seen before. It's body horror. It's sort of a bit criminally, but it's got a leading queer actor as well in Cooper Koch, who plays the main character. You might recognize him from They Them, which is another Blumhouse film that I watched recently. He was in that. Really, really great cast. There's only 4 people in this film. It seems quite low budget, but they make it work really, really well. So I recommend that. And I thought that you, as listeners, might be looking for something that's a bit more serious and a bit more mainstream appealing, kind of not really campy and not really terrible. And there's no played for laughs homophobia or anything in it. It's just they're incidentally gay, which I really enjoyed. But yeah, that's the kind of film that I've been kind of looking for lately, and I've found quite a few of them, which I will recommend in coming up episodes, but I'm not going to go too deep into it now. But yeah, that was my big 2 for the month. And if you've got any that you've seen as well, I would love to hear from you. So please tweet at us and let me know if I'm missing out on anything, because I love gay cinema.
It's awesome because horror has a history of so much queer coding. So it's nice that now it's out in front and that you can clearly stand behind having these gay horror movies.
I'm definitely going to check that one out.
Yeah, I was trying to get together some that were explicitly queer characters. There are a lot of, like you say, the gay coded ones, like The Nightmare on Elm Street 2 is incredibly homoerotic, gay coded. I watched Carter Smith's latest movie, The Passengers, with Johnny Birchtold and Kyle Gallner. And that was about 2 straight men criminals who have a friendship. I mean, there's undertones of suggestion of homoeroticism, but it was never never intended, never implied. I think it was just because it was Carter Smith. But to actually see Swallowed and to see gay men represented in horror as the protagonists, as the good guys and the bad guys was A+. I loved it.
Love it.
I want to watch these.
Probably be watching Swallowed today. Then
it's really, 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 really good, and I want to know what you think of it as well. So yeah, I think it's really cheap on Amazon Prime right now.
Awesome.
I just looked it up. It's $5 to rent US dollars, since I'm sure not all of our listeners work in pounds.
Yeah.
So it's $5 to rent, $8 to buy. It's not
too bad.
Not too bad.
Not too bad.
One thing I did want to mention that touches a little bit on what Elton said is that we do have I'm saying we, but he has the album out. We also have started putting some merch on Threadless.
Yeah.
And this is just, to be frank, it's just going to help. We try to put these out every single month, and the hosting and all of it is not free. We love doing it, so we haven't cared about that. But if we want to keep doing it, maybe we can recoup some of that. So that's what we've decided to put the merch out for, and the music, so that potentially we can keep doing this.
We also have I think it's Coffee, but it's KOFI account. If you wanted to send us money.
I forgot about that. Oh my goodness.
You forget about that all the time, and you're in charge of it as well. So no wonder we never get any money.
I know.
That shows how
Brett
often it's used.
Got our only $5. We also have a bookshop front. If you shop our bookshop, we get a cut of that. And some of you have, so thank you. Yeah. But all of these links are in our link tree, which is in our bio on all social media, which reminds me that we're finally on Blue Sky. So if you are on Blue Sky as a Twitter alternative, Twitter replacement, whatever, you can find us there at Cutthroat Horror. And all three of us are there.
If you're on there as well, and if you're preferring it to Twitter, where you're checking in your socials, where you're all hanging out at, because we want to be the cool kids that hang out at the party too. So let us know where's cool to hang. I'm pretty sure X is going to be imploding any month now. It just seems to be really going down the shitter.
I understand not supporting it, but I'm not loving Blue Sky yet. I want to love it. I want it to be easier.
I'm not entirely sure why you don't love Blue Sky, because it is essentially Twitter without a character limit.
I can tell
it's created by the makers of Twitter.
Not.
I struggle to find people in Blue Sky. I can't find people, and I also find that I cannot figure out how to make my notifications go away. I click them, I interact with them, and then they just stay forever.
Yeah.
So
and I can't use emojis on my desktop, and threading is kind of a bitch. So this is my feedback for the Blue Sky creators. I have not found engagement to be super high. Like sometimes I'll tag people and I'm not sure they see it.
I think it's not because it's invite only still at the moment, isn't it? So
yeah, but I'm tagging people who we follow.
Yeah.
So if I'm tagging you and you're not listening, if you're get on there and like our Blue Skies.
I'm just into TikTok lately. I'm obsessed with TikTok because I can watch people eat too much food. I can watch book recommendations. I can watch little comedy skits and celebrity stuff, bits of music. It's very, very cool, and I'm addicted to it. I literally can't stop. The other day I watched an old man make a pair of shoes. It was lovely. It's very good.
I also have finally really dove headfirst into the TikTok trend so late, but I've been watching people open like mystery boxes.
Ooh,
and also horror talk is on point. I mean, I love the creepy music. There's like fun little videos. I love horror talk, especially because it constantly brings you to Appalachian horror, and I'm into that right now.
It sounds like one of you should run a TikTok account for us.
We're working on it.
That was supposed to be Brett. Brett's supposed to be social media.
I got the text-based ones, but I can't handle a TikTok. All right. Well, thank you for listening to us ramble on about what we've been up to this month and listening to us beg you for money in multiple ways. Whether you're donating to causes, or buying music, or buying T-shirts, or just buying us coffee. We are really excited. We're bringing on Kat Voleur to talk about her new book, Revenge Arc. So excited to chat about that. And then we also brought on her publisher, Cormack Baldwin from Archive of the Odd. So we'll be talking to them after this break.
Waking up in a bath of ice, I'm a victim of an organized. You know it is true, you know this time you're never gonna get it. But you already stole my heart. Yeah, you ripped it and tore it apart. You know it is true.
All right, and we are back. We are joined by Cormack Baldwin from Archive of the Odd and Kat Voleur, author of Revenge Arc. Cormack Baldwin is an author and the head archivist, editor-in-chief of Archive of the Odd, a speculative found fiction press. Kat Voleur is a writer of dark fiction with works featured in Hell Hath Only Fury, Livestock, and Divergent Terror. She co-hosts 2 podcasts, Slasher Radio and This Horror Life. When she is not creating or consuming morbid content, you can most often find her with a small army of rescue felines, pursuing her passion for fictional languages.
Welcome.
Hello.
Hi, thanks for having us. Yes, thanks for coming on.
So how's everybody doing today? Excited?
Oh, so excited.
Trying to be normal.
Just normal?
Just trying to pretending to be normal for a little bit. Look, I have appearances to keep up.
This is not your mother's day job. You can be yourself here.
Yeah.
No, my mother's day job is being a writer. She can be.
That's
that's wonderful.
Does she write found footage type documents too?
No, she writes science fiction, romance, and mysteries. Our overlap is very, very small.
That's really neat. We should have her on.
Yeah. We keep talking about having Mama Pumpkins on all the time too.
Oh my god.
Aw.
Yes, she's a big fan. I just want Elton to interview her because she loves his accent.
She doesn't realize how mean he is. Sorry, Elton.
She would probably love it. She loves Real Housewives. But anyway, we are here.
Yes, we are here to talk about not Mama Pumpkins or Elton, even though we miss you, Elton. We're here to talk about both Archive of the Odd and Revenge Arc. Yes. That is your debut, correct?
Yes, it is.
Yes, congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, reading it was such a blast. And for our listeners, it's called Revenge Arc, A-R-C. I remember I was like telling somebody I was reading it and they got confused because they're like, it's an arc. So is it just called Revenge? Like it's your revenge arc? And I was like, nope, that's the title. Anyway, I was hoping, Kat, can you tell us what Revenge Arc is all about?
So Revenge Arc is it's about a lot of things, but the plot follows comic writer and film critic Riley Langdon as she gets kind of thrust into the center of a true crime controversy on the internet. It's all true to source formatting told through web pages and Twitter messages and Discord. And yeah, it's hard to talk about past that. So
yeah, no, it was like so fun to read. And like I read it on my iPad first, but I already purchased and I'm ready to receive the paperback because I was like, I need to be able to flip back and forth because I'm like, there's got to be clues hidden in like the Discord names and like the posts. And there's even, I mean, we'll get into formatting, but like even the pages where you could see the opposite side of the page.
Yes.
As like clues. That was so
and
cool.
Me, I didn't realize it would be later in the book. So I walked up to a mirror and like read it. And then I found it later. I was like, all right, fine. But I really loved the immersion factor of it. Kudos to you both on that one. What was it that inspired you to create such a unique story, Kat?
The initial inspiration, and I'm sure that this comes through, it wasn't so much the creepypastas, although I was reading a lot of them at the time that I had the idea for the story, but it was the feeling of doing research for something scary like that. It was more about the experience of, you know, the late night Reddit threads and the external links, and, you know, you're just going further and further down this mystery. And I really wanted to bring the audience something like that experience, more than I was inspired by what was trending at the time. And this was around, I sat on this story for a while. I came up with the idea in like 2016. So at the time, the deep web really was the creepypasta moment, you know. There were a lot of red rooms, there were a lot of like live game shows on the deep web, and you know, it all kind of blended together into one feeling that I just thought everyone needed to have.
So you got lucky with being able to find a publisher that's just kind of like tailor-made for this kind of content.
Yes.
So Cormack, can you speak a little bit on that? Archive of the Odd, wholly new idea. I feel like I haven't seen something like this. What is it? What inspired it?
So initially, I actually forgot why I did it for like a solid year until my now co-editor initially was just close friend was like, you did it because you couldn't find anyone who would take found fiction stories. I'm like, oh, is that it? Is that why I did that? Oh, sweet. Okay, cool. Because yeah, I would have them and then I would send them out, and I got a lot of, this is great. What is this? What is this thing that you've done? And I'm like, I don't feel like it's that complicated. And there are a lot of publishers that do fan fiction, do it really well. I really like Diabolical Plots and Pseudopod both do it fairly frequently, and I enjoy it. But it's always kind of a little extra niche thing, whereas I'm like, no, this is its own style of writing. It is a completely different way of looking at writing. It's you read it in a different way. It needs something that is special for it, like something that can embrace it for what it is and not kind of push it into what we want traditional prose to be, which is not to say that other publishers are doing that. I want to be clear here. I love you, Diabolical Plots. But it always feels a little sad when there's like this amazing story. I'm like, oh, this is formatted the exact same way as everyone else.
Oh, I'm so glad that you brought up how hard it is to find someone willing to do found fiction. You said that it was luck, which is true. Like the timeline for me submitting Revenge Arc and Archive of the Odd opening up for ambiguously lengthed projects is kind of why this happened. A lot of it was chance, but there was I was going through a period with Revenge Arc where I felt really proud of the manuscript. I was sending it out. I was getting full requests for the first time ever in my life, and they would get the full requests, and then every single publisher was like, we can't format this. Like, this is a nightmare. And that wasn't, and at the time I wasn't at like ambitious to the level of where we ended up at. It was just, like, even looking at like the Reddit indentations and the Discord and stuff, like a lot of places just would not touch this.
No, that's that's really no joke. And I don't think people realize that when they pick up a book, but it's like when you use a formatting software, you're like very beholden to like certain inputs and stuff. And it's like, when I was reading that, I was like, I guess everything has to be an image file. But then, like, how do you, like, you have to split the image? And I don't know that this is how you do it, Cormack. So, like, I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, but this is just how I was envisioning it. Like, you have to design these images and then split them in the right spots. Like, I was just like, it does seem like a formatting nightmare. So it's so impressive that the two of you pulled that off.
It is.
And it looks amazing.
I was so immersed in it. And I think I actually wrote this in my review. I don't think I actually know that I did. I read it on my phone because I wanted it to be immersive like that. Like I'm scrolling through social media. And all I just kept thinking was like, holy crap, because this fucking thing is like, I feel like I'm actually involved in it. And if I move to a different social media, I had to like recalibrate, bring my brain back. It was just the most immersive experience I've ever had. Even as a fan of found fiction films, none of them brought me into the moment the way that this did. So I'm going to ask, you might not answer, Cormac, how do you do it?
I'm going to admit this, an alarming amount of Revenge Arc is on Canva.
Wow.
A frightening amount.
You must have the premium account.
I actually only got it so I could download things with print files in mind. For some reason, doing it in CMYK is locked, but no, otherwise I just do things with the free version. It's not actually significantly different.
Wow, that's so impressive.
Not all of it, but yeah, there is an alarming amount that is in Canva, and I'm willing to accept that. I also use Word, InDesign. One day I would love to be rich enough to afford Vellum, but we're not quite there yet in our plans to take over the world. So,
yeah, I mean, it was successful. It's gorgeous. Chelsea already mentioned that she purchased the physical copy, and I did the same. I
already got his.
So it's gorgeous inside. It's gorgeous on the phone. Just pick it up. It's perfect. I actually just right now I got a regret because I wish we would have brought the artist on as well. Didn't even think about it. That would have been a great idea if we could have gotten. It's Bree Crozier that did all the artwork for this?
Yeah. I don't know how to pronounce last name, so unfortunately I can't help you there. But yes, it's Bree.
That's awesome. I was curious too, like, Kat, how did you hand over your story? Like, did you like sketch it? Were there like descriptive notes? Like, talk about that process a little bit.
So I had that was the hardest part of this process. People always like want to know what the writing was like and how difficult it was to put together. And the answer is always like not very difficult in comparison to any kind of writing. But formatting this to the stage that I could send it out for people to look at it. And archive, I think because you guys deal in found file stuff, you know, that is a little bit more open. They were a lot more perceptive as to what the vision was, but there were a lot of places, and I'm not gonna, you know, like list all of the publishers by name that didn't want to work on this, but like
Name
even the
name
ones
and
that
shame them. I'm just kidding. Just kidding.
Even the places I was getting like full requests and then, you know, like we don't know what to do with this kind of responses from, you know, they were a lot of those places have very strict William Shun formatting guidelines, and it was like, oh boy, I'm not that great at formatting stuff to begin with in terms of like Shun formatting, you know, just because it's not applicable to a lot of modern fiction. And then when you add in, you know, stuff, I was having to set indents like 0.5 at a time to go back and forth with the Reddit threads, and it's like, this is
Did you
rough.
notate like what kind of format it
No,
was
I want to
supposed
see your.
be?
I want to see your
Like,
notes.
is it like this is written in Discord? This is a text chat.
So no, not a lot more than what you see in the book currently, because luckily the curators, as it were, of the document canonically have notes about where they got the sourcing information from. So a lot of that was a lot of this early draft was theater of the mind, where you still had that, but it was like copied and pasted into a single Word doc, which is actually it was a roller coaster of things, because when I had the idea for the book, it's pretty much the book that you're holding right now, and I was like, this is, except for it. In my version, it was going to be all printed and then just like shoved into an envelope, and then
Oh, that's so cool.
I thought I was going to have to do it myself at this stage. And then when I got the idea to query, I rolled it back where it's like, maybe it's just all pasted in a Word doc, because someone will publish that. Like, it's not going to be the ambitious hill that I've created for myself here at home. And then no one did except for Archive. It's like, and Cormack actually psyched me back up into what we have now, because I came in expecting to do a lot less than what we ended up with.
Well, no lie. Now I want to buy a second copy and put it in a manila envelope and like put it inside my walls in my house or something, and like wait for someone to renovate this in like 200 years.
That was the original idea for Revenge Arc, was just like a bunch of, I was going to like bespoke a novel, I guess, where it's just going to be like printing out pages and shoving them in envelopes to send out. It was not a good plan. I'm glad I didn't have to do that.
Aw, kudos to Archive of the Odd, Cormack. That's awesome. Thank you.
I have bad news, because we actually do that for promotional things. Not necessarily the whole book, but we do occasionally just. I have a bunch of manila folders I got for free when I worked at a charity shop. And I will occasionally just print out short stories with the author's permission and just shove them in a manila folder and put them in little free libraries. And it's amazing how successful it is. Like, usually I get it and then I get an order and I see that the address is like right next to where I put it in. And I'm like, okay, apparently this works. This is marketing 101. Put mysterious envelopes in a little free library.
That's a great tip for all the writers.
Found footage.
Yes.
So I do want to ask you, I'm going to butcher this word. Everybody forgive me.
I got you. I know what you're doing.
Epistolary. Is that?
I think
that's the word.
So I've been practicing that one.
We had practice with TJ Price's episode. So
I said it like 50 times wrong, but they're compared to found footage, like that genre of horror films. Do you take any inspiration from the found footage when you're like constructing or when you're deciding that you're going to drop them in random libraries?
Dropping them in random libraries is more because I think I was definitely, first of all, a creepy child, and then I grew up into a kind of creepy adult without a strong understanding of maybe the neighbors will think this is weird. So like it was very much something we have the key logo that's on our with that the bird is holding the key with an eye. And so I just drew that in permanent marker with like gilt like gold pen details and then just put it places and only afterwards went that might be a little strange for people to stumble upon. So unfortunately no, that level of planning came afterwards. Found footage in general, I was probably traumatized by, I believe it's called Lost Tapes. It was on Animal Planet when I was
Yeah.
like young.
On
Yeah,
Animal
Lost
Planet?
Tapes.
Yeah,
On
I
Animal
remember
Planet.
that. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wait.
no, I
We can
thought
cut
they
that.
were
We
real.
can cut this, but Cormac, how old are you?
I'm 24. I
You're
am young.
20. Fuck you, Cormac. I'm
I'm a
just kidding.
baby.
That's amazing. Good for you for being so successful at such a young age. Elton, cut me cussing out our guest.
Don't do it. Leave it
No,
in.
it's okay.
So are you actually
No,
24? Or were you lying to us?
Yes.
What?
No, that is.
I hate
No,
you.
I just finished my master's last year. Like literally, Revenge Arc. I was putting it together while I was finishing my master's.
Wow.
I
I'm
was
so
asking-
retroactively sorry for all the emails I sent you about nothing while you were finishing it.
No, it's okay. It's
Gen
most of the
Z
time.
hates emails, Kat. You should have Snapchatted him or some
No,
shit.
I love emails.
couldn't
No,
have
I don't know how
known.
to use Snapchat. I don't know how to use Snapchat. Please, I'm scared of Snapchat. I also don't know how TikTok works, and it frightens me.
Oh, you're an old soul. That's wonderful.
I'm an old.
The
No,
reason I asked is I
scared.
used to be when I was young, I was obsessed with Animal Planet, and I don't know what you're talking about. But
No,
Brett
I
does.
yeah, it wasn't when I was a kid though.
Oh,
No, it was
don't
like
have cable anymore.
2009, I think. I don't know. But I thought
Cormac,
it was
when
completely
you get
real.
off your parents' cable bill, you'll understand you won't have time for Animal Planet anymore.
No, I don't watch it anymore. Don't worry. No,
Anyway,
it's
lost tapes. Sorry.
lost tapes. And also Mermaids, the Body Found. I don't know what was going on in the heads of the executives at Animal Planet for like a solid 5 years that they were just like, let's really freak out some kids. Let's really mess them up for life.
There was a period of time when Animal Planet's just like, man, let's just do everything fake. Just like
I don't
throwing
do it.
fake
I did not
documentaries.
that was not my Animal Planet experience. This is so weird to
Oh,
me.
there's also like Meerkat Manor. There was also that.
Yeah, that's what I understand.
But you can see Lost
Oh.
Tapes on Amazon Prime, on Amazon Video.
It's
Okay.
out there.
Okay,
Yeah, no.
So tell
it's-
me about Lost Tapes because I don't know what that's about.
Oh no, it was just like monster stuff, but it was all in found footage. It was like 30 minutes. They were pretty short.
Cool.
And they didn't really have a story. Most of the time you couldn't tell people were like, at least I was fairly young, so maybe it was me. I couldn't tell that people were acting. I thought they were just being weird because that's what you do when you're on a grainy footage from 2003. I'm like, I don't know, that's standard practice. That's what we do. And so it'd just be like people going to party in a cemetery, acting mostly normal, and then they would get attacked by hellhounds or something. And I'm like, oh, that's terrifying. Awesome. That must be
Not
completely
going to
real. I
parties
have no way
now.
of processing this. Cool. I lived by a cemetery, so that wasn't great. Mongolian deathworm, for some reason, was the one I was most afraid of.
Oh.
I don't have a solid explanation for that. I don't even remember how it went. I was just terrified of Mongolian deathworms. Luckily, I lived in Alaska, which was pretty far away, but it kept me up at night.
Yeah, I definitely like my found footage introduction was definitely Blair Witch Project. And then semi followed by like the remake of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. What was that, like 2003 maybe?
So I think the VHS series is really high on my list, and then Hell House LLC.
So good.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, my favorite horror movie is Creep, and that is also found footage.
Yeah.
Hot take. A lot of people don't like it.
I love
do.
Creep.
You do?
I do.
Oh my god. Kat, we're best friends now. That's awesome. I don't know if you even finished answering Brett's question because that took like 5 tangents, but
No, that's okay. I got excited by Mongolian death worms. It happens to the best of us.
I'm gonna have to watch Lost Tapes. I can't
Yeah.
believe
I
I'm
don't think
I
there's
mean,
any
you-
benefit to it.
You did. I mean,
They're not good.
you said that you're inspired by the found footage, which was, the expectation. I think a lot of people that are doing that. I'm not going to try to say it again. I don't have it in front of me to read.
epistolary.
That
Yes.
fiction are kind of dipping into that. So, Cat, because Chelsea pivoted to Creep, which is found footage in a very like, what is that, true crime kind of way.
Ooh, yes.
Revenge arc kind of scratched that case solving itch. Do you follow true crime, and did that inspire it at all?
So I wouldn't say that it inspired the initial project much, but and I don't consider myself necessarily a true crime fan. I consider myself like an enthusiast of mysteries. Very often that's like cryptids or, like weird internet things, but there is a huge overlap with the true crime fan,
Mhm.
So just the base. I do fall down a lot of true crime rabbit holes late at night, and that definitely. I think it appeals to the part of true crime fans that like doing that anyway. And then when I actually sat down to write it, it was amidst the whole Dahmer controversy on Netflix, like that
Oh, okay.
whole thing. So I'm sure peripherally some of that like creeped into the true crime discussion that goes on in the book, because putting a piece like this together, you can't be like, it's all fictional, it doesn't matter, in the world, this is a true crime case. So it was a discussion that needed to be touched on, I felt.
Yeah, and I thought it was like super realistic. I mean, Brett and I have like once in a while chatted about like true crime cases going on. I've definitely like considered myself, I don't know, calling yourself a fan of true crime is always like a little bit weird. But it is fascinating. I just feel like it kind of appeals to like mystery solvers and like kind of puzzle solvers out there. People who just like want to get to the bottom of something. But one thing that I found was really fun about Revenge Arc is that like you don't really give us one conclusion. So like it's a book of clues, essentially. Like that's kind of how I look at it. And like even Brett and I, like we both read it separately, and I kept being like, "Did you finish it? Did you finish it? I want to talk about it," so that we could like discuss theories, which is super fun. So anybody out there who enjoys that sort of like mystery solving or true crime, like I feel like there's a Venn diagram of that. But anyway, you would probably love this book. But we were curious, is there one conclusion that you have, or do you even have multiple theories to what's going on in Revenge Arc? And you don't have to divulge them.
Of course. There is, because in order to lay down clues, I needed to have a very coherent timeline of when things happen and what is happening, because there's a point in having multiple theories where it's just nonsense because nothing means anything. And especially when I was adding like years and dates and stuff, I had to refer to, these people are here at this time, kind of so looking at it from my angle, there is a canon thing that happens because I have to construct the timeline around that. Like that's how the book fits together. Mm-hmm. And we made the decision really early in, I think when Cormack and I were first talking about the ending, like the epilogue to the book, we were talking about how that was going to be perceived and how straightforward or not to take that. We went through a couple different drafts actually to kind of get the ending to the note where it's at to make it more ambiguous. And one of the decisions that I made during that was to not confirm publicly like who is and is not right about the theories, which has been one of the hardest parts of this, because even though I know what happens, like I have like a folder with like the timeline where it's like every person is here step by step, like I know because I needed to know where everyone was. even though I know that and have seen it, I've been getting some of the most insane theories for this, and it has been so fun to watch. And I don't know if this is a thing that you'll have to cut. I don't know if I'm going to get in trouble for this here. I've been, I actually wrote a sequel while I was on bed rest, and it like one thing, and it was before the book came out. And it's been really interesting to kind of compare the direction that I was going to, go down with the theories that people are having now, because it's like, I think it would be, if it weren't already done, I would have a really tough time. Not only is it like not done because it needs edited, but it's not like confirmed. It was just something I did for me, but it's been really interesting. It's like, I think it would have been hard not to let fan theories kind of influence where it goes, because people have some really interesting, like, they've pulled some conclusions.
So when we're off the air, I want to ask about what some of these are, because Chelsea and I actually came to it with different opinions of what happened, and obviously I think mine's right. But
I was pretty convinced by you. Yeah.
I really pitched it, but hers also made a lot of sense. So I want to bug you about that. We did, for the listeners, I'm going to be honest, we tried before this to get answers, and she's just like, yeah, no.
She wouldn't give them to us.
Nothing.
No.
So,
Kat, do you ever plan to divulge the answer? Or is the sequel is that like kind of why you're holding off?
I'm holding off a sequel mostly because I pitched this as a standalone thing. I was like, here's the whole story, we're done. And then we worked on art for it for like several months, and I got excited. And then I was in quarantine with nothing to do, and I was like, sequel time, because I was still all hyped up on the project. So that's like, that's not something that's been formally discussed, or I don't even know if it would be something that I would want to release, having seen how much fun people are having theorizing. I think if I do it, I'm going to have to go back in and make it more vague to kind of like keep that tone.
you don't have to do that.
No, we want answers. We're going to need like a Discord server to process Revenge Arc, which is analyzing fake Discord servers.
That would be life imitating art. I think the Discord fan server,
Amazing.
and then that's just the sequel. That is actually kind of the note of the sequel that I had, where it's like, here's the information presented, and then here's like a year later how people have reacted to this news, and what's going on online as people are trying to figure out like what's going on.
We could be characters.
I know, it could be very meta.
It could get so meta here.
So since I guess you've confirmed that you haven't formally discussed the sequel yet, we're not going to take that off the table.
No.
Cormack, do you have any other like long form like Revenge Arc in the pipeline?
Not currently. It's something that we're open to. Like, we are kind of, the door is permanently cracked to like, hey, if anyone has a collection or a novella that is found footage or anything like that, feel free to query us. It's fairly uncommon, and most of the time when people reach out, it's like, this isn't found footage. I'm sorry. This is not fan fiction. But yeah, there's nothing currently, but it is something that we are looking forward to, hoping to expand a bit more and do more cool things. Right now, we have Revenge Arc, and then we have the magazine issues, and I'd like to continue my plot for world domination, mostly in the form of making more cool stuff and hiring more artists and things like that, and raising our pay rates, because apparently, like, we're very much a micro press. We're very small, and we try our best. I'm currently like applying to grants and things like that to help keep things running as best they can. But like, yeah.
So
good on you.
If somebody that's listening right now that has a found footage that could be the next Revenge Arc wants to grab your attention, how can they do that? If they sent it in, what do you look for?
Oh, it's really weird, because I would love to be the person who can be like, just a first page that grabs me. But admittedly, like, I'm very much not that kind of reader. I will probably forget your first line. I'm sorry, guys. I know all the really good advice that everyone gives about like strong characterization and things like that. Obviously, that's still true, but a lot of what I enjoy in fan fiction as opposed to prose is kind of more of the detail-oriented aspects of it. I do enjoy the ambiguity. I enjoy the weirdness in the spot in between files. Like what is going on off the camera? Because with fan fiction, you kind of have either a 360-degree camera where you can see absolutely everything that's happening. You get to look into every server, you get to look into every website, or you have like diary. And so either you have one point where you have any point, and kind of using either one to create an effect either of more information being outside of the story or otherwise that there is enough going on within the text that it can be unpacked as opposed to laying it as it is. I don't know if that answers the question. I just like fan fiction.
No, it is interesting because like how do you can't do your first line is the best with something like fan fiction. Like it is a total package.
I've actually,
in a lot of ways.
This is a hot take, but I've never really loved the first line to sell it. I've never loved the first page promise situation. I feel like writing a novel is an art form, and sometimes you have to look at the whole experience. I know that the whole experience isn't necessarily going to grab a publisher, but I agree is what I'm long-winded way of saying that.
And I think Kat wants to weigh in too.
Oh, I don't want to get Cormack overloaded with questions from with all the query letters, but one thing that I found is that you're very easy to talk to. So if someone's looking to get something into archive, I would ask, which is what I did. I think I submitted this as a serialization.
Yeah, because initially the page said, "Query if you're interested in serialization," which was intended for the website, because the actual magazine comes out fairly infrequently, and it's like we can't really serialize. It'll be like 6 months between issues. People are going to forget what happened. But yeah, no. Initially, it was serialization. I'm like, no, this isn't going to work for serialization. This is not. No, this needs to be put together. It's its own thing. I don't want to stagger this.
I was so desperate to get help with this project, and I just looking through archives material, I knew that this was like the publisher that I wanted, but it was very much the art of how to pitch a novel at a place that is not accepting novel. But you were so nice. Like I asked about it, and I think I was pretty straight up front about the word count, but you were so nice about not only looking at it anyway, like you were very polite in the email, but then once we decided to work with it, being like, did you want this to be a serialization or
no, I don't think it would have. Oh no, I just don't think it would have worked as a serialization. It was kind of, I read it, I sat there going, no, I read that all in over the course of 2 days, and I'm pretty sure I was dealing with my finals at the time because again, I was in my master's program, and I'm like, no, that's not the kind of media in which I think serialization will go over well, because you'd get a quarter of the story and then go, okay, see you all next month, right? No.
Yeah, it was very devourable.
It was very devourable. I devoured it. I've devoured it twice. So when you're doing epistolary fiction in the digital age, it used to be like the format of just writing letters, and now you have Discord servers and text chats and Reddit threads all in Revenge Arc alone. What special considerations do you have to make? This is kind of a question for both of you, because Kat as the writer, Cormack as the formatter artist of the book, and then also Archive of the Odd, which is wonderful found fiction
One thing that is really boring that is an answer is that there's a bunch of legal considerations.
Wow.
So you know how in Reddit everyone has the little robot guy? I don't use Reddit. I'm sorry, I don't know what the word is. I think it's like a shmoo or something.
You're too young
They
for
all have
Reddit,
little.
Cormac.
I'm a baby, but they all have the little robot guy for their avatar. Legally, we couldn't use that, so everyone has circles. So it's the closest thing where at a glance it would kind of look like that.
Mm.
But like also, one of the characters in the Discord is intentionally vague and kind of unknowable, but we couldn't use the standard Discord logo, which is what happens if you don't have a profile picture. So we had to come up with the vague and unknowable thing, and also someone would have to have uploaded it intentionally because we can't use the Discord logo.
Yeah,
because,
no, it's
like,
what an interesting challenge. I did not ever consider that.
Yeah.
Yeah, Marty R, he's somewhere in there, and yes, he cannot have the Discord logo, or that would have been his avatar. In general, most major websites kind of have a policy of benign neglect when it comes to like, hey, I'm stealing your format, and they're like, yeah, sure, go ahead. Twitter especially actively does not care. There are multiple books that use just straight up Twitter formatting, and it's like, oh, okay, cool. You can just steal this. Awesome. We're good. We're cool.
Yeah.
Every so often in the magazine, you'll see an off-brand social media site. Like occasionally there's like a Twoobler out there, but it's mostly that it's the author had put it as Twoobler, and I'm like, okay, I guess in this universe it's Twoobler. Like I'll roll with this. Sure.
Yeah, we're in. It's fine. Me and Brett are making eyes, and we're like, all right, now we have to look into Marty.
Well, I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I was looking through it and I was like, this looks like a generic little sentence.
We're
or
like, oh,
logo.
look at the guy
And
with the fake logo. Yeah.
And then I found a line, Cat, that I think confirms one of my theories.
Hang on. Look into Cat's eyes.
70 or 71.
You said 70 or 71?
Yes, 68 through 71.
We're diving
that
into
is Marty.
Hard theory here. All right, we're going after Marty. Was Marty the cop?
Yeah.
I can't confirm.
I do remember Marty.
The title of this episode is going to be like, Cat cannot confirm nor deny.
Cat pleads the fifth.
Cat pleads the fifth. Cat, did you have anything to add about what Cormac was just talking about?
Oh, about the not specifically about the I will say I got to ask some very interesting. I feel like this would give it away. This might be one of those we have to cut things.
Go ahead.
I did at one point have to ask about the legality of using fictional languages in the template of the book, and we will it is in there. It made it. It was legal.
I lost a grade.
Right
so
by.
Excited.
I did serious research to make sure that it's innocent tech, to make sure that innocent tech's avatar was legally appropriate.
Yeah.
Ooh, this is so interesting.
Oh,
Brett, we're gonna have so much theorizing. And Cormac, I didn't want to cut you off on your answer there. Were you able to say everything like
yeah. No, mostly it's for the most part, honestly, the biggest challenge with websites is the fact that occasionally they change. First of all, now Twitter is no longer Twitter, and so that has really ruined that. Revenge Arc is already historical fiction.
Maybe it's for the best. Maybe you just want
okay.
to live in a pre-Elon. Yeah. Yeah.
It's a nice little time capsule.
It is.
I will say, moving forward, I think that it's going to. This is where our world and the Revenge Arc canon diverges. If I got the sequel, it would still be Twitter. I think. I don't think we're bringing X into this.
We're not pandering to Elon Musk.
No, none of us call it X anyway, so it's fine. I was curious if we can turn it back to Cat a little bit again.
Mm-hmm.
So in the book, Riley, the main character, models much have read her character off of herself, which was a very meta reading experience. So I was curious if Riley is likewise modeled after you at all, and or how much of yourself tends to end up how much of yourself ends up in your characters in general.
So generally, I think I put a lot of myself into my characters. I think here's my hot take. Here's my hot writing take. I think to a certain extent, all characters are kind of self-insert characters, because even if you have someone that doesn't believe the things that you believe or doesn't act in a way that you would act, even when you're doing villains and antagonists and just like the most despicable people, it's always, as a writer, your depiction of how they approach these actions. Like I think it would be impossible to have like a whole book full of characters that just that don't have my worldview to some extent, because those commonalities, and that's kind of how I approach all of my characters, is like, here are the things they have in common with me. Here's where I can see myself, and here's where I differ. Like it's very much like that for me in the process. Riley is a very interesting character in that regard, because we do have a lot in common anyway, that I think makes the similarities stand out a lot more. But she also, like I said, there was a big break in between. Like I had the full idea for the story and the character and the world and everything in 2016. And then there was a huge break before I wrote it in 2022. That was just last year. Feels like a lot has happened since then.
A lot has happened. The entire world has changed.
Everything's different
in many, many ways. Yeah.
So there was a huge difference. So, a lot of people kind of ask about the similarities between me and Riley. She's a lot more like the person that I used to be. She's kind of how I was afraid I was going to grow up. So I appreciate that, like, as an adult now in that spot, I can see the differences where I've maybe done a little bit better, and of course the areas where I've done worse, But a lot of myself has ended up in Riley in that way. She's a lot like how I was at like 18 or so. And the other thing about her is that a lot of her work, because when I actually sat down to write it, I had to have like a whole career for her that was different than my career, because we ended up in two different places. A lot of her projects and history are like ideas that I had that got scrapped, and things that I had wanted to do at some point and didn't get around to and stuff. And I think that's the way that I'm most intimately connected to Riley, was it's like some of the early like gut reaction tweets and stuff were things that I had set aside for a different project. And, there are just a lot of things like that going through Riley's career, and fleshing that out was, she has a lot of me in her in that regard.
Yeah. It's interesting that like she, like, I don't know, Cormack was just saying it's like this book is a bit of a time capsule, like society wise, but yours is a little bit of a time capsule personally as well. So
Yeah,
that was deep as hell, Chelsea.
Oh my gosh. Guys, I am smart sometimes. Just kidding.
So, Kat, where can our listeners buy this wonderful little book?
So I have the link on my website. Cormack has the link on the archive website. I've been telling people to get it from Big Cartel if they're doing the physical, and I've been telling people to do Godless if they want the ebook, just because I love Godless so much and I'm excited that I'm on there. Cormack might have a very different financial answer that makes a lot more sense.
We also love Godless. Shout out to Godless. But anyway, Cormack, you answer.
Big Cartel is the best for physical. Big Cartel and Ko-fi both work. Those are the two where I have complete control over what's happening. If you are receiving book from there, it has been in my house. I used to say house, it's an apartment. But any other channel, because Ingram also has its own channels, I have no control over. I have no idea what's happening. But Big Cartel is the best, because then also if something happens, I can be like, hey, there's a delay, or hey, there's an issue with shipping. Like we had printing issues initially, I was quietly panicking the entire time as I tried to get a bunch of books to us, and it was stuck in purgatory for a while. But like I could
You
email
were very
people.
much not alone. So
Yeah,
I know it doesn't feel that way
felt
in the
good.
moment, but I mean, just if you go on Twitter, I feel like most publishers these days are like,
Oh yeah.
Ingram screwed us. Yeah.
I'm actually in an anthology that just we had our digital release like a month ago, and the editor has just given up and switched to KDP for the physical because Ingram just like would not let it out of purgatory.
No, I'm not surprised.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, recently the other thing with Ingram is we got an order of books and I opened it up and it was Sharing God's Big Love with Little People by Miss Patty Cake Praise. And I had to sit there going, how do I tell Miss Patty Cake Praise, hey, you have our horror books? Can we have them?
I feel like we
Never
might
got
have just
to me. I feel like-
traumatized Miss Patty Cake Praise.
Sorry, Miss Patty Cake.
Maybe we indoctrinated her. Let's go that way. Now she's a horror fan.
Yes.
A better world. But yeah, Big Cartel is best for us because then I have complete control and also, just it's the best because I have complete control and I'm definitely not a control freak. Why do you ask? But no, I have more ability to like communicate with people and also I know what's going on. Meanwhile, digital, do whatever you want. We're on Itch.io, we're on Godless, and we're on Big Cartel. The only thing with Big Cartel is I have to do it manually, someone has to do it manually, someone with the email account. And so it might take a second, but we will be there eventually.
Kat, where are you? You mentioned that you're coming out in an anthology. Where else are you coming out?
That
was a weird way to ask a question, but
I'm already out, I think. Ship has
Where
kind of
can
sailed
we
on
find
that
your
one.
upcoming work?
So yes, we should any day now have physical editions of that anthology. That would be That Old House, the bathroom. It's a series of anthologies that does room by room horror. So the first one is all horror stories that take place in the bathroom. There's actually going to be a second volume of that one, I think, before they move on to other rooms. I'm going to be in Dark Blooms soon, which is a coming of age horror. Yes. Had a feeling you know about that one.
And that's edited by Ruth Anna Evans.
It is. And I think it will be available through her site and Amazon when it launches, but I have forgotten what date that is because I am not prepared.
We'll tweet about it. Ruth Anna has got us covered. It'll be fine.
And I have a second novella coming out sometime next year. I don't have a release date for that either, but it's called The Lore Keeper. And news about that will be on my website as well. So,
D&T.
Yeah, D&T.
Yeah. I remember that. Okay.
Pub siblings.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, is your second novella going to be like standard? Standard seems now like a dirty word, but is it going to be kind of in a funky format as well, or?
No. I'm just gonna say no because I feel like anyone that's read Revenge Arc is already going to be really disappointed when they see at the time that I wrote The Lore Keeper. It was actually the first thing that I started querying. It did not get picked up in a timely manner because it's filled with, it was like, how many hard cells can I work into like 25,000 words? And the answer is a lot. I can work a lot of them in.
Oh my god.
But at the time, like when I wrote it, I thought I was being very daring with the formatting. I was like, this is a cool stylistic choice that I'm making. Here I've got like snippets of letters. Like I thought it was like peak creativity at the time. It's very tame in comparison to what I've been doing, I think.
Cool.
But it's yeah.
Nice.
Awesome. I can't wait to check that out.
So you mentioned your website. Can you tell us what your website is and
yes.
and your socials where we can follow you?
That is catvoleur.com, CATVOLEUR, which I always spell for people because it's French. And then you can find me on Twitter/X at cat_Voleur, and then like Instagram, Facebook, Blue Sky, it's all just cat Voleur, no underscores, no dashes. Yeah.
Cool. Excited to see what else you come out with. And then switching over to Cormack, given that you are a found footage fanatic and supporter, I'm curious if you have any found footage-esque or epistolary book recommendations for our listeners, besides Revenge Arc, of course.
Yes, of course. Obviously, Revenge Arc, that is required. If you can't say you're a fan fiction fan without it, yep, that's the facts. But no, there's several, and I think it really depends on the angle you're coming at it from, like what you like most about it. The graphics editor actually for Archive of the Young, yes, there's another one of us. There's actually several, but is currently reading S by Doug Gorst, and
yes.
Yeah, it is giant and sweeping and terrifying, and I will one day read it, but right now I'm afraid. So that's technically a recommendation from someone else. There's also, I'm trying to think, I still need to finish The Disappearance of Tom Nero. I just got distracted by work, unfortunately. I will be coming back at it. It's interesting because there are a lot of books I really love that are part fan fiction. Like I just finished Jackal by Aaron A. Adams, and that was there were snippets of fan fiction in there, and I really enjoyed that. But like, it's not the entire book. Most of the book is standard prose.
Yeah, it's pretty common. How about any movies? Do you have a favorite fan fiction movie besides Lost Tapes from Animal Planet?
No, unfortunately, I do not watch movies.
What?
It's tragic. No, I have visual issues, so I can't handle a lot of visuals.
Got it.
So I just sit there going, "This is probably great, but if there's a flickering light, it'll kill me." So
Oh no, which is like the worst for found footage because everything's like a little jarring and like, yeah.
It was like when everyone was talking about Skinamarink, I'm like, "Hey, that sounds great.
I
can I
might
get
die.
a summary?"
Man, can you imagine trying to summarize Skinamarink?
No.
Oh, yeah, it doesn't go well. I really love the effort put into the explanations. Really love the hustle there, but yeah, no, it does not make more sense without the visuals.
I'm sorry. Thank you. I did not know I was walking into that, but hey, you are not alone, okay. So I appreciate that. And where can we keep in touch with Archive of the Odd?
Archive of the Odd is Archive of the Odd everywhere. It is just well, okay, no, that's not quite true anymore. It is Archive of the Odd, all one word.com on Twitter. We just got our Instagram. However, on Blue Sky, I was not clever and I signed it up under my name, so it is still Cormack Baldwin, one word. One day I will put together an actual press one as opposed to just using my own, but now like
now you gotta wait for like the invite code and all the things. The whole thing.
Yeah. But cool. Yeah, so we're mostly Archive of the Odd. And if you search Archive of the Odd, we're the only one.
Perfect. I feel like Instagram could be a really, like, given that you're found footage focused, could be a really cool place to promote yourself. Not being an expert, just a consumer.
Okay. I don't know how to use Instagram. I'm an old man, an old soul.
An old soul, not an old man. We've already revealed your age.
Alrighty. Well, we appreciate both of you joining us today.
This has been the Cutthroat Queens, and you are welcome.
Waking up in a bath of ice, I'm a victim of an organized. You know it is true, you know this time you're never gonna get it. But you already stole my heart. Yeah, you ripped it and tore it